That's why 90% of entrepreneurs fail, because they see the failure and then they get scared.
Yeah, it's like the excuses too. Have you heard all the excuses like in this club? Like
God.
we both did MIS class. It's that's like the most business class I took. Yeah, like,
and I still remember shit.
The son worked for him, and he was like, man, like, I've learned more in this first week working an actual job in business than I did my whole 4 or 5 years in college. Like, what business do you think I should start if I'm graduating college? Like, that's basically what his question was. And I was like,
you dumbass. If you are serious about business and you'll do anything it takes to become successful, this is the perfect time to do it now. Welcome back to the Dropouts.
What's up, guys?
We're back for another exciting podcast video. I'm Gray. This is Cameron.
What's up, guys?
We got an exciting episode today for you guys. Why don't you give us the Phil? What's happening?
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, our slogan, we dropped out, so you don't have to. Today we're gonna get into kind of like one of the first subjects we've been wanting to get into. Basically the pros and cons of dropping out. So is it worth it? Is it not? There's some pros and cons associated with dropping out and stuff too. One of the first things I guess I want to talk about is like our stories and like how we dropped out. So it's not just like, okay, mom, I want to drop out. I have a cool business idea, like buy college. It took me personally. I'll let you go first on your story, but basically it takes a long time. So yeah, so how did your dropping out?
My story was kind of funny because we all go back to this idea that like we all hated school because it was not for us. But in reality, I mean, I was kind of into school up until college. Like, I was a straight A student through middle school, high school. Like, I mean, at one point I had a 4.5 GPA in one of my semesters until, I totally blew it all in finals week, but we don't have to talk about that. But I was completely into school. Like, school was definitely, like, my thing. Like, I felt like I'm definitely more book smarts when it comes to that kind of topic. And so I kind of excelled at school. But the problem was right before college is when I stopped racing and when I started filming. And that's when I started getting the business mindset. And then when I went to college, I was like, oh, it's just going to be like high school. It'll be good and maybe a little harder, which it was in some sense. But then that's when I started realizing that all the stuff that I was learning was only some of it was useful. And that I was spending, 20, 30K a year to go to school and learn things that I didn't find of value. And the first semester of college was not bad. I had enjoyed it. It was like, first time in the dorms, you go to your first frat party, you meet all your friends and stuff, you hang out, you do fun things, especially at our school at San Diego State.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff to do there.
Yeah. Just a preference too, we didn't drop out of nothing against JCs, but we both got into really good 4 years. We were both entrepreneurship majors, right? We loved entrepreneurship, the idea of it, and so it's weird for us. The only reason I went to that school is because of their entrepreneurship program. Obviously, it was the best school I got into. So I was like, and I really liked the area, and so go ahead.
And
with your story,
let's preface the level of education that we were at before we dropped out.
Yeah, so we
San Diego in our year of admittance for San Diego State in our freshman year, there were 95,000 applicants and only 5,000 got in.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Almost a 5%. That's insane.
Yeah.
So for us to get in was actually a really big deal, especially into the business program, which is weighted.
Yeah.
So I don't want to brag or anything, but I was getting props from a lot of people because they knew how hard it was to get in, and I've had plenty of friends who got rejected from there, and so
I was I'm not proud of myself. I was like, you know what, this is just one thing that it's at first goal. You've worked so hard, you're told your whole life you have to go to school, you have to get grades, you have to go to a good college. So when to finally get into a good college, you're like, okay, wow, I'm doing something.
I'm not gonna lie, after saying that and knowing that I dropped out was kind of a big fuck you to the system.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's our whole lives are F you to the system, basically.
Yeah, no, but no, so first semester was actually good, my first semester of freshman year, and second semester was good, but that's when I started realizing, that's the first step that I realized business was for me, because I started working more. I got a call up to go spend a week in Florida to film one of the most prestigious races, which was the Daytona 200. And I would be gone for a week. I'm like, I can do it. I'll just do homework beforehand. It'll be fine. which was a total mistake.
Yeah, I remember sitting in like in
and
calculus. I was sitting next to you, and you're like, "Dude, I have to leave for a week." And you already we were already both like struggling with the class. I was like, "Dude, this kid's gonna fail like 100%." He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be gone for like 2 or 3, like a week or two." I was like, "Dude, you can't just be gone for like a week or two." Man, it was bad.
Yeah. So I ended up taking that trip, and I was like, "Oh, it's fun. I'm having a blast," you know. Although it was stressful by the end, and I come back and I'm like behind on like 5 sections in like math, and I'm like, "Well, shit."
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is not good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I ended up doing that, and it was one of those deals where it was like it was worth it to me because I was making money, I was pursuing my dream, and I was having fun with it too. I was actually enjoying it. I was genuinely happy. Even though, yeah, we're not gonna get to that, but and so I was like, oh, it's fine. And my parents were pretty laid back because I got pretty decent grades the first semester, and like they weren't like too hard on me yet. And so I ended up taking another trip, like 4 or 5 day trip to Atlanta, for another race, and it was like 2 weeks before the semester was up.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was a really good trip, but I think it was bad, and so a bad idea. And so it was like, I went and I came back and I was just beyond behind. It was so bad.
Yeah,
and
I remember that. You were so stressed out. I remember that.
Dude, it was bad. Crazy. And then after that, I was just so far behind that all my grades suffered. And so my parents, we had to talk. My parents were all pissed off because I failed 2 classes, which I don't blame them at all. Especially going from a straight A student to failing classes in college is a big jump.
Yeah.
And they don't have like a set answer as to why. And it just kind of tough. And so so I worked the entire summer. I was doing races, traveling, enjoying it, having a blast. And then coming into first semester of sophomore year, that we made an agreement that I was not going to work. My parents were like, we don't want you working, focusing on grades because you need to get your GPA up so you can get into the business program.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what, that's perfectly fine. I will gladly do that to get through. And so I was doing that for a good chunk of the time. You know, I was not working. I was just doing school and stuff. But the problem was, I was living off campus. And at State, your sophomore year, you have to live on campus.
Yeah.
And so I had all my oh my god, don't even get me started.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that.
It's a money trap for State. That's really what it is. But all my friends were living on campus. And I saw no one. Because they were all on campus. And I was off campus, and obviously I'm going to go back to my apartment when I'm not at school, because that's where my food is. And so I was spending a lot of time there, and I wasn't working. And at the time I had a girlfriend. And it slowly turned into this ordeal where it was like, I had 2 options. I could do school, or I could hang out with my girlfriend. And obviously I'm going to choose a girlfriend because I don't want to do fucking school, especially when it's oceanography, which I don't care about. I'm not going to do oceanography.
Yeah.
And obviously she's going to be busy. You know, she's got a life too. She's got a job and clubs and whatever in school. So, I mean, there comes a point where it's like, I'm not going to do, school because it sucks, and I don't want to do it. So I fell into this deep, dark pit where there were some mornings where I actually felt like I was depressed and I had no motivation. I had no drive to do anything. I was just like, fuck this all sucks, And there was literally mornings where I just could not eat because, like, my anxiety was on high for some reason. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
And so I went back to my therapist and would try to figure it out. And then it came down to a point where I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Because I started trying to get back to my business mindset, which I had lost. I was reading and tons of articles, I was watching videos and trying to just get a sense of, what do I want to do and why am I doing this? And then all of my research, which we'll dive into later in this episode, came down to basically entrepreneurship is my passion. And when I stopped racing, entrepreneurship and film took over that passion. Because I went from dedicating my entire life to racing, which was, in my terms, successful, to swapping over to business. And so it's like, I had no choice but to put all in, because I was so used to putting all into my other passion, and then to swap passions, I had to do the same.
Yeah.
And to take it away really took out a part of me. And so that's when I kind of realized, okay, I need to do something about this. And so I basically got the research I needed. I wrote a very long email, which we got into the last episode, and it was like basically saying I want to try this leave of absence thing and just see how it works. Try my business, see how that goes, and if it goes well, then I want to pursue it.
And this
so
is an email to your parents, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's email to my parents, and then we ended up sitting down for dinner and just chatting over it. And it was overall pretty healthy, and then it was a big step in me as an adult because I started taking over all my expenses and stuff, which I'm happy I did because it helped me mature a little bit, and it helped me become more responsible, which is essential for business. You have to be owner. You're owning your own business. You have to.
Like it gives you like a idea of like what real life is. You have like insurance payments or rent. Like it kind of punches you in the face. Like, okay, this is the real deal.
It's a wake up call. It's a wake up call. So we kind of took that step, and it kind of led us to here now. I mean, like literally, 4.5 hours ago, I was at a private track filming some of the professional supercross racers that came from Australia to race here, and was filming them testing. Like, it doesn't get better than that. But I couldn't do that if I was in school, because right now I'd be on a Zoom call with my professor writing an essay about thermodynamics or whatever, know? And it's just like, and this is something, we'll get into self-education later, but I've self-educated enough for me to know the fundamentals of growing a business and supporting it,
Yeah.
So that's kind of my story in a gist. Obviously, there's a lot of things I want to dive into later in this episode, but I kind of want to hear your side while I adjust this horrendous lighting situation.
So Gray was kind of saying, like, when it came down to school, he was pretty book smart. He had that kind of down. Like a 4 point, anything over a 4, I mean, even getting a 4.0 GPA is like insane to me. Like, for me in school, the only reason why I got into college or got decent grades, I don't think I got that good of grades in high school. I might have gotten like a 3.5 GPA or something like that. Like a pretty respectable, I guess, like A's, B's, maybe some C's now and again. But for me, school was all about self-discipline, right? I showed up every day. I hated every second of school. I didn't learn anything in school. The only time I ever learned anything in school was when I was on my phone, like at lunch doing homework, like researching about like business. Like all I wanted to do was research about business entrepreneurship. And for me, it was kind of like deep down, like, I guess, just like a passion. It was never like I want to do it because it's cool or something. And now it's kind of, it's weird because like being entrepreneur is kind of a cool thing now. But it's like, for me, it's just like deep within. I just couldn't, like school is like, I mean, I grew up, I was dyslexic, obviously, which is like a learning disability. So it made school hard for me, but it was like to overcome that. And I mean, not overcome, you can't just overcome dyslexia, but like overcoming that challenge and just like showing up every day, working hard, putting the hours into the homework. That taught me how to be self-disciplined and work hard at anything, because I knew like I wasn't good at school. Like it just didn't make sense to me. I hated the whole system. Like the education system to me is so bad. But for me, like putting, like my dad always told me when I was younger, when I was playing sports and I didn't want to, like go out, like every day. He was like, yeah, just like do things you don't want to do because it builds your self-discipline. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But now being older, like I understand what he was saying, because it's like I hated school for so long, and I literally went, like when I was really young, I probably didn't care, like kindergarten is probably whatever, but when I got, like, it was like grade school and like middle school and high school, I just didn't like it. I didn't see very much value in it. The only thing I saw value in school is building your work ethic and also getting into a college. So it's like when I got into a good college, the only reason I was the worst test taker ever, that was always my worst category in my classes. Like I would get great. I would never not do homework, even if it was stupid, because it was self-discipline. I would always do projects, obviously, like even if I had to carry, remember in high school you had to carry your fucking groups because they didn't do shit like that. Yeah, like you always, because
I'm the leader of the group.
Yeah, you have to do it because it's like, because I mean it helps you, and like after years and years and years and years of doing it, like it helps you get better at like your self-discipline category I think that's very important for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I specifically remember going to a meeting, and there's this guy which I still don't like, and we were talking to him, and obviously I'm a little biased, but I specifically remember you asking like, we were both discussing, like, should we drop out? What are we gonna do about this? And you specifically asked him, and he's like, why are you in school? And you're like, specifically like self-discipline, like I have to
Yeah.
self-discipline myself, you know?
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, cause my parents are making me, but like I'm not gonna like say that.
Yeah. It's weird because parents like, I mean, yeah. So my story, I guess, along with my parents too. So my mom and dad knew from I would say probably halfway through high school I didn't like school. Like I always like complained about it. I was always like, why do I have to learn? Like I was in like honors chem at one point. I was like, why do I have to learn? And I took honors chem because I knew that the more smarter kids would take that class, and I'd be surrounded by smarter people in that class versus the normal chemistry class, even though it's probably the most useful shit. So I got to surround myself. I always try to surround myself with people that are smarter than me at anything, even if it's school. If they know more about birds than me on a hike, like I'll like try to learn stuff. It's like some stupid shit. It's like I always try to I always try to be the dumbest person in the room. So, and that's like one of my, I guess, like in high school, I kind of changed my friends group midway through high school because I wanted to be around people that were either smarter than me or had their ambitions on track and they were going to be successful at some level.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you know what they say, you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, it's
and
so
it's
important.
100%.
Yeah, I didn't realize how
true.
important that was until I made the change.
It's so important. So important.
It's crazy. Yeah, so my parents, like basically my parents, so I kind of like, even before I think senior year of high school, I was really on the fence about even going to college, and then I ended up getting into SDSU. I was like, if I don't go into SDSU, I might not even go to college. Like I just didn't want to. I was like, I'll just resell stuff on eBay and wake up at 5 in the morning, maybe get a real estate license. Like I'll figure out something. Like I just don't want to go to college. So, but so I got into that program and I kind of toured the campus. I really liked it. And I got to see the Entrepreneurship Society like area, and they have like this like all these cool programs at the school, and I got to talk to the president and a few other people in the club too, and they were just they were so pumped up, and it was that entrepreneurship energy that I was missing in my life. And I was like, wow, this could be a really cool environment for me, even just on a mental standpoint, because all these people are wanting to, they want to like be the most successful they can. So for me, it was like, wow, these people, okay, it's like this is a good group of people I want to surround myself with. And I mean, I like the school. They had a cool program. So I was like, yeah, obviously I want to try it out. So I ended up going. We both went for, I think, a year and a half. And then I ended up, after one of our breaks, I think I ended up going, I think halfway through my sophomore year, I ended up going back to school. And I drove my sister and her roommate back because... so we all drove back, and then I kind of got on campus, and I stepped my foot out of my car, and like looked back at her dorm room, and I was like, man, I should not be here. Like I just felt some change happen, where I was just like, this is not right for me. Like I had, and like we'll get into the next subject too. So basically, just to like, I was just like, nah. I felt something deep down that was like, okay, you're now at the point where you could take time off of school and drop out or whatever, and then that will bring you to the next level of the best person you could be instead of staying in school. And school has a lot of pluses too. But basically, I remember my parents. It was like the entrepreneurship talk, but it was like the sex talk, but entrepreneurship. Like I remember my dad and mom came in. They're like, all right, we can talk about this. Much. Yeah, I know. And like so, basically, like I remember my dad. I had to talk to him separately at first, and then my mom separately, and then both of them combined. My mom knows like I hated school. Like I was always talking to her. Because I live with my mom, obviously, at that point. And then, but my dad, he was more into like the logistics. Okay, how much money are you making? What's your longevity plan? Is your industry have longevity? He was more into the numbers and the realistic like stats of it. Like, are you gonna fail? Are you not gonna fail?
Because he's an entrepreneur too, right?
Yeah. So he started his own business too. It's like an engineering business, so it's a little hard to like relate to his stuff because he's more of an engineer than an entrepreneur. Like he's really good with engineering stuff. I can't do math. I have no idea how to do any of that. But he has, he knows like how hard it is. He started a business in the recession of 2008. Like it was the worst time to start a business. We had like no money, and he just made it work. And he knows how much time it takes to put in. And like it's just so risky, and that's another thing too we want to go over. But yeah, basically my mom, and then she kind of knew like I was like mentally feeling bad because I was in school, and like emotionally like there was just something missing from my life, and so they both came together, and we had like a couple really good talks, and eventually they're like, you know what, if you want to do this, like let's make a plan. So I had a plan. I had longevity in my business, and then I just made the move, and now we're not in school. So
Nice,
so
nice,
the
nice.
first thing I want to ask you, so you're like kind of the risk reward of like school, or like like your the longevity of it. Like, what's important to establish before you make that move, Gray? Like before you drop out.
All right, so the biggest thing I have to say, if you're thinking about dropping out or starting a business or whatever, do you have a plan? And has your plan been proven? Because the biggest thing for me, especially when I started, is that I had a plan that I had been working on already for a year and a half,
Yeah.
I already had the clients, I had the client base, I had the game plan, and I already had made sufficient money. I had enough money to survive an entire year of college with rent and expenses paid.
Yeah.
Like we did the math. Like if we budgeted out how much money I'd spent on gas, food, electricity, Wi-Fi, and rent, I had enough to cover it for 6 months or however 5-6 months, whatever it was, 7 months, and I made that during the summer. And I was like, imagine if I was still working, because there's 10 rounds of the season. I missed the first and third round, and I missed the last, I think, 3 rounds of the season. That's 5 rounds that if I went to, I would have made actually double how much I made.
Literally double, yeah.
Literally double. And if I had enough to survive for 6 months on end, that ought to me enough was an answer to say I can do this.
Yeah.
Do I want to do this for the rest of my life? No, definitely not. This is more of a 3 to 5 year thing, just to establish myself and make enough connections so that when I do go on to my next business model, whatever it is, I'm going to be set. So you have to have some sort of plan, and then you have to test it, You can say, yeah, I drop ship and stuff and I made a bunch of money. Well, you look at your market, look at the stats, look at the trends, is this market exploding? Is it depleting,
Yeah.
You really have to go in and analyze and say like your dad said, what is the longevity of this? Is this something that's going to boom for 6 months and then die off for the next 12?
Yeah.
Is this something that is going to increase 5% every year for about 10 years? Is this something that you can make a legitimate business?
Yeah.
Like, for me, the long-term goal is to get a lot of secondary cash flows, Like, I want to invest in real estate because real estate is one of the most, I wouldn't say stable markets, but it's a market that will never die off.
Yeah.
Because everyone needs a place
always
to
need to
live.
live somewhere, yeah.
Everyone needs a place to live. Businesses need a place to work, So it's like one of those things where you have to really think about it. How proven and how legit is your business? Because you go into saying, I'm going to day trade and I'm going to make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Well, how long have you been doing it? How much have you made? How much time have you put into it? And how many times have you actually made a lot of profit,
Yeah.
And how much profit did you make? Because if you're going to go in and you put in 200 and you make 500, well, you only really made 300 profit. If you do that once a week, you're making 300 a week. You make that much in, like, a part-time job.
Yeah.
It's
like it just, man. Yeah, it's like you have to have the longevity. Like you can have a plan. Like like you can have a plan. Okay, I want to shoot motocross, and like I want to get some clients. But it's like, and I like for me, it's like I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to be the biggest YouTuber. I want to be this YouTuber. Like whatever you want to do. I want to be the best drop shipper. I want to be the best, like there's like Amazon FBA, day trading. There's so many ways that you can make money now with the internet. But basically, like, what the important thing with this is a plan is one thing, right? You could have a YouTube channel, or you want to start one. That if you want to start something, you should never drop out of college. Like, for me,
No.
I did YouTube for years and years and years before I even thought about dropping out, right? Like, I waited for my channel to have that momentum. And for me to see a value in longevity of the business, right? Like, for my particular niche, our CPM on YouTube is probably the worst out of.
Oh yeah, I've seen the stats. They're terrible. They're terrible.
Out of anything, right? Like, like the financial niche gets very personal finance, real estate niche gets very good CPMs. Personal beauty gets very good CPMs. And then some
we should
people
go to
that
makeup. We should start a makeup channel,
we
bro.
should just do a makeup channel, honestly, dude.
Dude. We're the next.
We're scratching this podcast, guys. Next episode, makeup tutorials.
Guys, we're gonna be the next James Charles.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yes.
Dude, it's so funny. But like,
anyways.
Yeah, but like for me, I already had I don't know what point. There's my alarmer for my camera, but anyway, I had a point I don't know how much subscribers I had. I had a point. I think I was at maybe like 30K, and I was like, okay, like I have something going on. I'm getting consistent views. You know, like I have these business models I want to try out. With you know, with my business and see if they work. And I tried out a few. I had a few last summer, and I was like, okay, this has some value. So because of the quarantine thing, I had a whole lot of business plans to kind of I'm kind of postponing them. In the meantime, but basically I was taking my, you know, like I don't want to do AdSense for my income. It's just stupid for my industry.
No,
right?
You won't make enough with airsoft. There's
so
no
even
way.
if I was getting like, you know, 10 million views a month, in my opinion, that's not sustainable, right? Maybe some months I won't get 10 million. So it's like, yeah, so for me it's like longevity. If you did drop shipping for a month and you made $3,000 profit, that's really good. But if you did 3 years of drop shipping and every year you're making consistent growth, and you're making, let's say, 6 figures of like profit, that's a different story. That's like, okay, you could drop out. You know what you're doing. You're consistently growing. The industry obviously is booming, so it's like that might be a good idea to drop out. But you know, if you're just starting drop shipping, you don't have that. You know, maybe you, if you know what drop shipping is, if you don't have like a white label brand and you don't have connections in, you know, manufacturing in different countries, like maybe it's not something you should do. I mean, anyone could drop ship, but to make it a like white label brand and make it an actual brand for that people care about emotionally, that is a whole different story. If you have that locked down, then you know a lot more than most people, and that's where you see the longevity in it. So it's like a lot about like calculated risk too, right? Like, you know, my YouTube could die tomorrow, right? Like I don't know that, but you know, like the odds of that are very low, and this is what I'm doing right now, and this is what I'm putting my time into, and I see value in that. And it's like, again, with YouTube too, I don't want to be doing this my whole life either. I love YouTube, especially my niche too, like the airsoft niche. I mean, I love airsoft, but at this, you know, like I'm getting older, and I'm like, my interests are changing. Obviously, I still love it, but it's, you know, my interests are changing. I love business. I've always loved business. I don't think I'll ever not love business. So this is something I love to always be doing. So it's like, you know, like for us, our hobbies are kind of what we do for business at some point. And obviously,
which is a blessing.
Yeah, obviously we're at the point now where it's like we're making, you know, we're going to the business side of things, which is like a little bit your hobby. You have to think in a different way, right? When I go and get footage, I can't just, I want to have fun today. Like, I mean, that happens most times, but I have to be calculating like what I film, how I, you know, like it's like a different process basically.
You also have to think about how your engagement's gonna be when you film said
like,
video. When you edit it, are you gonna edit a certain way? Are you gonna do do you need to get a specific shot for
the video? Do I need to like use
yeah?
a certain
What do you
gun?
need to do?
Certain stuff. So it's like it's all calculated. It's a lot different than just like having a hobby and recording yourself. It's a lot more time and effort and thinking that goes into it. But yeah, like for me, I mean, I have like a 5-year plan within my industry. And you know, that could change. I could have to pivot. That could be a 2-year plan. That could be a 10-year plan. I don't really know what's gonna happen, but I have a plan. And obviously, like we have more time in quarantine. Like we're doing this podcasting. That's another business thing that we could be doing. I'm learning a little bit more about trading. You know, it's like, and we're both learning about like, you know, personal finance, real estate. Like we're constantly learning. I didn't drop out of school because I don't like learning. I dropped out of school because I see a lot more value in self-education and for my personal personality than like someone teaching me something. And it's not that. And that's just for school, because I actually do like people to teach me things personally, but for school, like the professors, like I remember that last entrepreneurship meeting we went to together, I think, the professor was like, self-branding is like the head professor at the school for the entrepreneurship like society, like club, like these kids should be like, they should know stuff about entrepreneurship. And like I have 2 examples that like when I decided to like drop out, I had like every single sign was like, you should drop out, you should drop out. There was not one time when like maybe I was like debating it. It was like everything was just pointed in that direction. Like for that club, I remember the professor that like he like, you know, is supposed to be like the smartest guy in the school for entrepreneurship, basically like the only guy I would be like, okay, you know, like I want to learn from this guy and stuff. And he literally was like, started off this like certain speech with like, self-branding is the worst business ever, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, first, the speaker didn't even show up to the presentation, so he had to do one.
Yeah, it was like, this is like a professor at the school that like runs the entrepreneurship society, and he supposedly has done a lot of stuff in like the entrepreneurship world and stuff. So.
And I have no doubts he has.
He sounds like a smart guy, but it's just
like it was that I think he's a little old-fashioned.
Yeah, he's like self-branding is the most. Like there's so many kids that are making millions of dollars off self-branding, and it's such a like it's the way of the future, and he just doesn't know that because he doesn't.
Well,
it's like
especially
a different time.
with social media, because with social media, and Instagram and TikTok especially, so many kids are becoming famous off of those applications, and then they're turning their name and their image into a brand and making money off it, like you said. You know what? A great one, Tanner Fox.
Yeah.
I don't think you're a big fan of him, but he's a great example because he took his name and he built a multi-million-dollar empire off of his name. He's got Hot Wheels. He's got his own scooter company. He's got a very successful YouTube channel. He's buying mansions, bro, at like 19 or 18 or 17,
like,
whatever.
I don't know how old. I think he's 19, 20. He's around our age, I think. I don't really know. But he's killing it, though. He's doing really good.
Dude, he's doing good.
Yeah,
but point being is, he understood that once he started having following, the power that he could have using his name, you know?
Yeah.
I want to backtrack real quick.
Okay.
I just have one thing to add real quick on the whole plan thing, because it's like, when we were talking about having an idea, but if you haven't, like, there's a big difference between I want to do something and I am doing something. And so, for instance, you brought up the whole filming the motocross or motorcycles and stuff, you know? Kid comes up is like, I want to go film riders and make a business off of it, a living off of it. Okay. What riders do you know? What clients do you have? How are you going to market your services, you know? How are you going to approach getting riders who want to pay? Because especially in the motocross industry, specifically with dirt and dirt bikes, every rider thinks they're going to get edits for free because it's an oversaturated market, and there's so many kids that buy cameras with, you know, either their money or mommy and daddy's money or whatever.
Yeah. And
they go out to the local track, and there's plenty of them here in Southern California, and they go film for riders, and they're like, here, I'll give you a free edit. And in the rider's head, hey, more content for me for Instagram because I've got 15.7K and I need to post for my sponsors, you know?
Yeah.
And so to them, they're like, perfect, you know, they get a little publicity from the edit and I get free content. It's mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
But especially for me, I'm trying to make profit out here. You know, that's one of the reasons why I don't do that, is because there's so many kids that are going out and giving free edits. Some are good, some are mediocre. Regardless, content is content. Content is king. And we'll get into that whole nother episode because we can go on that for the hours.
Yeah.
But you have to ask yourself all these things: how you can make money, how you get clients, how you're going to market yourself, because how you going to brand yourself, how you're going to brand your image, you know? I've been fortunate that I started my business in a market that was very untouched by the video aspect. There's tons of photographers. There's no one in video. So I was fortunate to get introduced into that space where there was no competition. And it created a platform for me to create my brand and my image. And from there, I was able to create a foundation for me to grow, you know?
Yeah. And it's like a lot of kids too, like in that entrepreneurship club too, like you were kind of saying, like, I mean, the whole, like, the whole, it's like, I want to do this, like, if I had more time to do this, like, there's no excuses, like, we had, like, I had, like, 15, 16, 17 units in school, like, most of the time. I don't think I was
doing 16,
Yeah, like, we had, like, a full load or more in college.
We were doing
like,
a full load or more.
At a pretty hard school, like, and, I mean, it's not Stanford, but, you know, it's not, it's a hard school.
Well, it's not Ivy League, but it's the next thing. It was a tough school.
Yeah. So yeah, and like basically all these kids are like, I want to do this, or like, you know, I'm gonna get my degree and then I'm gonna start a business. Like, that's not how it works. You have to put the time in. You have to be starting businesses. And you have to fail now, not later.
Yeah, that's why 90% of entrepreneurs fail, because they see the failure and then they get scared.
Yeah, it's like the excuses too. Have you heard all the excuses? Like in this club, like so I was doing sports freshman year at one point. I had to stop that obviously because of time. Like there was no time. But, yeah, I was on the water polo team at state freshman year.
Since when?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a club team though. It's not D1, so it wasn't too crazy. But yeah, but I had that going on. I had business going on, and I had full-time school. And that kind of worked out a little bit better because it was freshman year, and I can kind of get away with a little bit more time. But but I mean, you still have to put out like tens of hours into school every week, and that's just going to classes, and there's the homework side. So we did everything in school, like all my weekends, like I sacrificed. We could do a whole episode on sacrifice, like all the like parties, the time with my friends, like there's so much sacrifice that goes on. Like all my weekends, I had to go drive 3 hours to play airsoft to get footage, and that's when I had like a couple thousand subscribers. But I knew what it took to do it, so I just did it, and it worked out pretty well so far. So it's just like you have to do it. You can't just like, oh, I want to do it, and like, I mean, in college, there's no reason to drop out of college unless you see that time in college, like let's say you're spending 30-40 hours a week in school doing stuff. That might be a little bit too much. I don't really know, depending on your major and stuff. But like you could be putting that, and then that extra like 40-50 hours a week that you should be. Most kids like party or play video games or whatever. Like we were working, so it's like, if you see that 40-50 hours a week that you're like, let's say for I felt like I was wasting my time, right? Like with the classes like oceanography and all the bullcrap, like anthropology, like all the bullcrap we had to just like we just cheated in all these classes. Like it's such a waste of time. But and I'm not just saying that the upper division classes are better or worse. Like they're supposed to be better.
Well,
but
we don't know. We didn't take them.
Yeah, I've heard some debatable things about them, but
well, it's
just
like
old-fashioned,
even if let's say the upper division classes are good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna waste 2 years of my life.
Yeah.
And tens of thousands, maybe even $100,000, depending on where you go.
Yeah, schools, yeah.
Of, let's be honest, bullshit ass classes, except for a few, to get to a class where, let's be real, we could probably learn the fundamentals of that entire, 6-month course or whatever it is, or 3-month course in a 30-minute YouTube video from some random dude in Northern California.
Because you're not gonna remember like shit. Like we both did MIS class. It's that's like the most business class I took. Yeah, like.
And I still remember
what
shit.
What is it? It's I forgot what it stands for. It's like something
Management Information
yeah,
Systems.
okay, that's what it is. But
Management Information Systems.
Yeah, so like there's some value in that like subject of like learning your back end and your backbone of your websites and software of your like businesses. If you're using like I was using Shopify at one point, which is really popular. But it's like. Man, it's like.
Did you use anything from that class?
No, it's like but my point is like I forgot all the shit. It's like unless I can apply it to my business, like then like it's just like useless to me. Like I think it's better. It's like in kindergarten, like or history or something like. Like all those history classes we took in high school, like I don't remember shit. Like I don't care. Like, but if it's something that I see value in, and then I can apply that to my business or my life, that's when it like sinks into my mind, and I can use that again. But like all those like calculations and like compound interest formulas, that was business calculus. Like you can literally Google that in 5 seconds. So it's like it's not worth it for me.
It's funny because towards the end of first semester sophomore year, when I was getting ready to drop out, I specifically did one experiment because I wanted to see how useful going to my MIS professor would be. So I asked 3 people the same question. What? Yeah I asked 3 people the exact same question. I asked my professor, my grandma, who's very, very good in business, and another friend of mine who I know runs a very, 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 very busy marketing agency. Does a graphic design, all that stuff. I asked him 2 questions. What program do you use for CRM, which is like customer management software, and then what software do you use for mail, for like email blasts, like management organization stuff, So if you want to send an email blast to everyone on your mailing list. Both of my grandma and my friend who runs the business came back and basically said the same thing. MailChimp, Salesforce, MailChimp for the email stuff, Salesforce for CRM, and there's like one more each for each one from each person, but it was a bunch of programs. I asked my professor the exact same question because I was curious. What would she say? She said, I can't do her accent. It's some like Russian thing, but she was like, you need to code in Python, and then you need to extract the data from inside the system, fuck, what's it called? The server. You need to get all the data from the server. I'm like, bitch, I asked for a program, not how to code like.
Because that's all she knows. Because like she's old fashioned. Like people don't realize how much resources we have, dude. It's crazy.
Well, and people don't realize how much you can make online now.
Yeah.
Everything's moving online. Like especially after this quarantine, I would not be surprised if a lot of classes go online now because of this. They're realizing, hey, we can save so much money and pay the teachers less to work from home, or whatever the deal is, or they can save resources building classrooms, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
that everything may be going online. Business may be going online. And I'm waiting for the day that degrees no longer matter.
Yeah, that's the one thing that sucks about our society too, is like degrees kind of, I mean, they still have some value, like not a lot.
They have a lot of
in
value.
my degree, or in my like in my kind of like talking to other people that are older, like unless you have a master's degree, like people don't really care as much anymore. Like a bachelor, it's getting less and less valuable, but it's such a societal thing that everyone's like, you need a degree. It's like all parents are like, you need a degree.
Well,
it's like a safety net kind of.
Yeah.
But it's like such a waste of time though.
It's not even that, because they get out into the workforce and they're like, wow, I didn't learn shit in school.
Yeah. Like those.
How do I do my taxes?
I know, dude. I watched this interview with I think it was Grant Cardone, like this real estate guy. Anyway, he was saying he has a few sons and daughters, and I think they went to pretty good schools. And he said, and I think his son went to business and started working for his dad or whatever. He does real estate and stuff. I think Grant Cardone is like real estate, but the son worked for him, and he was like, man, like, I've learned more in this first week working an actual job in business than I did my whole 4 or 5 years in college. Like, it was like, he's like, wow, like that was literally only to get a piece of paper so that when you're filing for jobs you could check, oh, bachelor's degree. That is the only reason. Like, okay, unless you're a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, there's many majors that are very like useful.
Yeah,
and I think it
that's
depends
what we
on
said
your
last
personality
one.
too. But I think the majority of business majors, it's important to. Sometimes it's important to do things by the book, but most of these, like the entrepreneurship major in general, like the fact that they have an entrepreneurship major is hilarious to me. Yeah. Like, you ever think of the irony of that? Like, it's an entrepreneurship major in high school, like it's like, or in college. I mean. And like I was like, man, I'm gonna have like speakers of real business people and talk, and like the only time I ever learned stuff was when we had those speakers in our entrepreneurship society, and it was like those real like CEOs, the real owners, real people in the industry, and they were like, I was just writing so fast. I made like pages and like on my phone and like of notes and stuff when they were talking. It's crazy.
Here's the irony with the entrepreneurship major, and I find it hilarious. Entrepreneurship is based on coming up with ideas and turning them into businesses. Only problem is you can't teach someone how to make good ideas. You just can't. Yeah, people either have it or don't.
Or even execute on those ideas. That's way more important too. Because everyone has ideas.
There are ways to help you brainstorm, but you cannot teach someone how to have good ideas. You just can't. You can give them a step-by-step list on, like, this is how you generally should brainstorm as far as getting it, but if they don't have the creative capacity to brainstorm a good idea, then what's the point of taking the major, Yeah,
it's crazy.
At that point, you might as well get a liberal arts major.
Yeah, to me, and it's, I think, entrepreneurship too, and I think anyone that's successful in that category they'll say that they've failed 9-10 times, and it's just that one business that works, right? But that you can't teach experience. And I think entrepreneurship, like, it's one thing to have experience in a real marketing job at a company, like you'll learn some things, but for entrepreneurship, like, you could hear all these like a lot of the entrepreneurship like education is like motivation, or like look at me, like what I did. But that journey from like those 10 years of building businesses and like failing at some, doing good in others, like that's where the real value comes. So for me, I saw, okay, I'm learning so much more, like doing real business stuff in real time and learning, self-educating, whether that's from YouTube or podcasts or whatever, every day. I learned that my rate of learning and how much I learned was so much greater, like 10, 100-fold in my self-educating than in the school platform. And yeah, I never got to go to upper divisions, but I have friends that have taken upper divisions, and it's relatively the same. I mean, it's a lot more value than GEs, but it's still, in my opinion, doing it. Yeah. Like we both deal with companies, we both deal with sponsorships, we both deal with contracts. That you is like you can't teach, like you can teach, like, okay, what is it like?
And you can't teach that. And let's be real, you for the most part cannot get that in college. Let's just be real. You can take internships and you can get your experience with your business, but you don't get the experience of dealing with a legitimate company which is willing to give you their money in exchange for your services. Like, you just don't do that. Yeah, and like I don't think people realize that.
It, like, you could teach that, but like it, when you get emails like asking, okay, will you do an advertisement on your YouTube video for like like you need to figure out your self-worth, like how much time it takes you to do stuff. Is it worth that amount? Like when I was sponsored by a company a while back, we're not longer together. We can get into that too. That might be a cool topic. Why I ended that, but basically
The clickbait.
yeah, but basically sponsorships are great. Like you and a company work together to try to help. You on the monetary side and them on. Oh, well, I guess both mutually in the monetary side, right?
I'm gonna pause you right there.
Yeah.
Just real quick. Someone please sponsor us.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just gonna
This
throw that in.
no,
Please
this
sponsor
podcast
us.
we're gonna blow up, so might as well like get a little
Might
bit
as
better
well hop
price
on
now,
early.
right? Yeah, right.
We'll carry you to the top.
Our
just
rates are just
saying.
gonna go up, man. So, but we want to. Yeah, so like it's just like it's interesting because arguing. I didn't argue, but I emailed that company I think for a month or two before we both agreed on a value that I was at that time I was worth to be paid to advertise their business. So it's like you can't like you could teach that like, oh, what is sponsorships, which I do, but like to go through it real time with an actual company and learning that like a relationship, that's so much more valuable than anything school could teach you. And I think mentorships are valuable too, and our school did have some programs, but all the mentorships they're very old fashioned too, because it's like you have to be, if you're an entrepreneur now and you want to make more money, you want to make more businesses, it's not all about the money too, but like for me, I just love making businesses and like the whole idea of it. But it's so hard to just like, you just have to go through the paces. Like you can't just start and like, you can't just like go through school and like expect to be good at businesses. Like that one entrepreneurship meeting too, that kid was like, he was like about to graduate and he's like, oh, I have a friend that's graduating, like what business do you think I should start if I'm graduating college? Like that's basically what his question was. And I was like, like you have
dumbass.
you can't just graduate college with a degree and be like, oh, I'm gonna start a business now. Like that's just not how it works. Like maybe if you're a trust fund kid and you have like hundreds of thousands of dollars to just like start some shit and figure it out, but like for most people like us, like we had to start with like no money or little money that we had saved up and like make something of ourselves and learn that real time. And I think that's way more valuable than when we were going through college and we were doing business, so it's not like we were sacrificing college. We were doing both, and then we both got to the point where it's like, okay, going on my own without college is going to be so much, it's going to put me 10, 100-fold ahead of the same person I would have done through college. So we don't like not advise against college, like we don't hate college, or I loved college, my experience was awesome, I loved my school, but it's just not like, it just personally for my personality and the way I was, it wasn't a good idea for me at that time. And we could still, we're both on leaves of absence right now. We don't plan on going back. I mean it's an option kind of right now, but I haven't even thought about it once. It's never crossed my mind. Like as soon as I left, like in my mind, I'm never going back no matter what.
Yeah,
even if YouTube dies tomorrow, like I'll figure out something. That's just my personality.
Yeah, that's same way.
Yeah.
If for some reason racing stops for some reason, I'll find a way to make.
We have like experience. We have like valuable. You have a super good valuable editing, After Effects, like filming, like valuable asset to your like toolbox, if you will. And me, it's like I have kind of like experience, marketing or like growing a channel and like the paces of that and like working with brands. It's like we both are getting experience. I think is way more valuable than a college class on how to market or something. It's like, and there's so many videos too. I was watching another guy. It was like I think it was a SDSU graduate that graduated with a social media. I think a social media or marketing degree. Yeah, and like he said they never. No, it was a marketing degree, and I think it was another video with like Grant Cardone. It was one of those guys, but he was saying like he normally valets for this guy, and the valet he's like, yeah, I just graduated from SDSU. Like what I got from the major, I think I got ripped off. Like I think like the social media like major, like I didn't learn, or sorry, the marketing major, I didn't learn about social media marketing. I didn't learn about the whole, and I was like, and he was like, what? Like that's literally like the only that's like most of the marketing nowadays is like social media marketing. That's such a like thing they should teach you in school, but it's so outdated that he never learned that. So it's like, and he felt like, he said, I think in the video I watched, he said, I felt like I got ripped off. Those were his words, and I was like, wow, like that's crazy. So so it's just, you have to be it's like a self-case basis. It's hard to tell people if they should or shouldn't drop out, but those are our pros and cons. So far we've only been we've only done this for a few months, but we have plans for years to go. You don't want to plan for 6 months. You want to plan for you want a 5-year plan, 10-year plan on what you want to do. So so basically I guess we want to wrap it up there.
What last touching bases, what do you want to say?
So it's a very, very hard subject to go on because we only have such a short amount of time. We can do multiple episodes on this, and if you guys want to do like a Q&A style where you ask us 10 or 20 questions based on like pros or cons of dropping out, we can go ahead and answer those too. It's like we can have an interactive episode with the same subject because I can talk about this for hours. I wrote down a list of things I wanted to cover, and we barely got through a few, so it's such a dense topic.
We're gonna have to do a part 2, 3,
yeah, it's
4,
such a
5.
dense topic. If you guys want to see more parts of this, we can go on forever. But it's very interesting. Don't drop out unless you have a very long-term plan. You're very confident in what you're doing, and you see the value of dropping out, getting more like time, or getting more, even some more money too with that extra time of not having to do school. It's such an important decision. It's such a hard decision too for most people. But
here's my last touching take on this. Okay, hear me out. After I eat this orange, dropping out of college is taking a big step. Depending on where you are at, running a business is gonna determine if it's worth the big step. If you are so unbelievably confident in your business and you are willing to take the risk, and
you see
if the risk
longevity.
falls on you and shit goes south, and you are prepared to do whatever it takes to handle that risk, then I think it's the right move for you.
Yeah.
However, you have to understand that taking that risk means a reward. So if you do drop out and your business triples, then you understand that you made the right move. But at the same time, if it's the wrong timing and you could go broke. And like broke. And like this is one of the reasons why if you are serious about business and you'll do anything it takes to become successful, this is the perfect time to do it now, because if you do go broke, if you're our age, let's just say you're 21.
Early 20s, yeah.
Early 20s. I know people who are 30 and still living with their parents. You can go back to your parents and recover under their canopy.
Or you can always go back to education. You can always go back to 9 to 5.
Yes,
it's always
exactly.
Gonna be there. Yeah.
Exactly, and this is why, especially like now, if you are one of the college, if you're a college student listening and you're contemplating that jump, you have to really assess the risk versus reward. And we can't tell you yes or no. We cannot tell you yes or no, because it's different.
It's a case by case.
But we can tell you what you need to do to assess whether it's the right time. So
I think if you have to ask yourself, is it the right decision, or ask others, you probably aren't. It's hard to say, but most of the time I'd say if you have to ask other people, is it right for you? It's probably not right for you, right?
No,
I knew by a feeling too, and obviously on paper it made sense so much, and I was like, I didn't have to. I didn't have to ask
people because I wanted to get their opinion, just to get the general census, so I understood what the reaction would be when I actually did it.
Yeah.
And a great way to tell what your intuition, your instinct, and your heart actually believes.
Yeah.
Ask someone to choose for you. And if you're upset with the option, go with the other option. If you ask for someone to choose if you're going to eat a cookie or a brownie, and they choose the cookie and you're upset that you're eating the brownie, then eat the fucking brownie, because the brownie's the one that you want deep down in your heart.
Yeah.
Unless you're fast and you want both. But it's the same thing for dropping out. If you ask someone to choose, are you going to drop or stay, and they say stay and you're upset, then just drop out. Because deep down inside, you want to drop out, you know you want to drop out, you just need to take the step, which is taking the step is the biggest, hardest part.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because you know that it's, for the most part, a one-way street. Yes, we can go back to school, but we go beyond our 4-month leave of absence streak or whatever it is, we're screwed, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's like, for me mentally, it's like, I mean, I got value from myself, and learning about others and stuff like that, going to college, right? We tried it out. We didn't say F college, but we both tried it out and, figured out it wasn't right for us, but that's not to say it's not right for anyone else, and, so it's just a case-by-case basis. It just depends. There's so many variables, ultimately it just comes down to longevity of your plan, your experience, like if you see value in opportunity in that. But it's interesting. But yeah, I guess closing out, this has been Cameron Wagner and Gray Fam.
Great fam.
We dropped out of
Peace
college,
out.
so you don't have to. If
Hell
you want to
yeah.
see more videos, we'll be doing lots of more videos on entrepreneurship, business, anything like that. Lifestyle stuff. Just make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications to stay updated on when we post videos, and make sure to
follow
like
our
the
socials
video.
down below.
Yeah, and comment. Follow our socials if you want to see us there or ask us questions.
If you want us to go over any topics, we're going to be doing a shit ton of these over the next few weeks while we're in quarantine, so we're going to be posting a lot. So if you guys want us to cover anything specific, or if you want to learn more about a topic, we can definitely go over like what we know about that topic, especially like he knows a lot more about day trading. I think the next couple episodes will be more about our individual businesses, because I think they're pretty exciting topics, and especially like I have a lot of developing with mine. He has a lot developing his. We can talk about his future plans. So definitely keep up to date with us, because we're gonna have some cool stuff coming out.
Yeah, just leave any questions down below. We'll feel free to answer those. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right.